Let's watch progressive Brian Tyler Cohen on Piers Morgan having to once again shut him down and the MAGA stooges with him in what essentially was a 3v1 where, as always, Brian came well over prepared and brought up numerous points while managing to flesh out the lies on the panel. So I wanted to take a look and, as always, provide the needed context.
This development now, where they're almost second guessing that, as the Republicans were saying, I think a lot of sympathy for this, that they're saying, look, clearly the justice system was weaponized against Trump. They tried everything to put him in jail, and a lot of the people that work for him. So now Trump is suggesting that maybe we return the favor, as of course he was going to. Now, he did say, I don't want retribution. I think the best revenge is success, which is an old Frank Sinatra line, which I use in a column. I suspect that's where he got it. But I think that would be a very good strategy. Don't look back, look forward. However, the fact that Biden may be moving to give people blanket immunity against any possible crimes they committed for many years, I think is outrageous, don't you?
Piers, I think that if you're not looking at it in the context of why it's being done, then you're just ignoring reality here.
I agree with Brian on the end there, and we'll play more of his response, but the fact that we've came to a point where as long as Republicans accuse Democrats of doing something before they themselves do it, they can then use it as justification for why it's okay. Like, this is pretty ridiculous framing by Piers through and through here. First off, the DOJ was not weaponized against Trump. He and those around him engaged in criminal acts, and grand juries of Americans decided to indict him for those. Did that hurt him politically? Sure, but he was indicted because of his criminal acts, not because of politics. He got more leniency in the courts than any average person would, if anything, because of politics. The DOJ drugged their feet in prosecuting him more than they would with anyone else because of politics. Biden and Kamala refused to even talk about it on the campaign trail, and there's no evidence or connection or of any conspiracy, let alone like this accusation that's supposed to justify Trump going and then hiring a guy that actually has a hit list of Democrats he wants to take down, and then Trump saying he'll go after Democrats because they're the enemy within. And now Republicans are still saying that, well, we're going to investigate Hunter regardless in Congress. Like, who cares about the pardon? Like, Republicans are unironically doing everything they foamed at the mouth accusing Democrats of doing for 4 years, except they're doing it in the open with clear proof and evidence of them doing it. And MAGA doesn't care because, like, they said it was the Democrats first that did it or something, so that justifies it. And it's just so weird to me.
Brian, what if they've committed crimes, genuinely, like Hunter? What if they have committed crimes?
If Adam Schiff has committed crimes,
Yeah.
he hasn't. There's no suggestion that he has.
How do you know?
Because how do you know that he has? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Why pardon him?
Why pardon him is because
why
Donald
pardon him
Trump
if he hasn't committed
usher
crimes?
in, because Donald Trump's FBI director is coming into office with an enemies list. Why wouldn't you?
Oh, you're saying they're going to manufacture crimes against Schiff? Is that what you're saying? You're saying that they're going to manufacture crimes against Schiff? Does that even make sense to you? Does that even make sense to you?
If there were any crimes against Adam Schiff, then they would have brought them up at any point unto this point.
The first thing that's wrong with this, again, is the framing. I know, surprise, but he's saying, what if Democrats committed crimes? Well, okay, what if Trump committed crimes? Yet you still said that Trump was targeted and should still be pardoned. And now who cares about the charges, right? But like with Democrats, we have to investigate until we find something. Forget innocent until proven guilty. That's only for conservatives. Donald Trump tries to steal an election, doesn't deny any of it, just says, hey, I need immunity for it. So, it's not like he doesn't say that he didn't do it. He admits he did it. He just thinks he needs immunity for it. But if Democrats investigate or prosecute him for that, it's political persecution and wrong, despite, again, clear evidence and him admitting he did it and it being wrong. Yet, if Republicans investigate with no evidence until they find something, that should be allowed because, maybe there is something. Does this sound logically consistent to anyone? And the difference between me, the left, Democrats, and Piers, MAGA, the right, is if you did find crimes, we would then ultimately say, prosecute them. They deserve it. But on the right, if you get investigated and then find crimes, you say political persecution, fake news. It's not true. Like, let's be so for real right now. I don't get this 4th grade level discourse.
Are you saying that Donald Trump's Justice Department is going to manufacture evidence of crimes, or aren't you? Because if they're not, you have no reason to pardon these people. Well, you're not really answering the question. You're going on a diatribe.
Well, you're not letting me answer. You're not letting me answer the question.
Answer, but be concise. I actually want to hear it.
Okay. Well, actually, thank you so much for telling me how to speak. I
You're welcome.
think that Donald Trump just sent a very big message to Pam Bondi as to what he expects. And he expects her to start and to Kash Patel to start investigating these people.
Okay, now we have to address this point before we end the video because he keeps saying it like it's some super good gotcha moment. And it's like with most things that MAGA do, it's just relying on the fact that you hear it and be like, wow, that's actually a pretty great point without engaging with it critically or thinking about it longer than like 3 to 5 seconds. Reasons to want to prevent investigations stretch far beyond just maybe they'll find that I did do something wrong, right? It's financially damaging. It's reputationally damaging. There's personal and private information that could be leaked, like we saw with Hunter Biden, where Republicans are showing nude photos of his in Congress. This is something that his kids are going to see. This is something his family had to live through. This is something he himself is going to have to deal with anytime like he goes out in public. I mean, sharing personal info about him, like his drug issues, these kinds of things, etc. It's not as simple as, well, why would you need a pardon if you did nothing wrong? And we not only know the effects that this can have to those who are subjected to it, but we know that Trump himself is absolutely willing to directly do it. You always hear about, well, Biden used the DOJ and weaponized the DOJ. Well, what about the only president we've ever had that, or at least, in this generation, that actually weaponized the DOJ against his political rivals? I mean, let's look through this New York Times article that lists at least 10 political rivals of Trump's that were subjected to investigation while he was president. I'll have it scrolling on the screen while I talk about it, but to briefly detail a couple of examples, James Comey, director of the FBI, was investigated by Trump, or he investigated Trump for working with Russia in 2016 and refused to prosecute Hillary because there was no evidence to do so. Trump then pushed for the FBI to investigate him for a bunch of things, a lot of them unrelated. So it's not even like, well, he obstructed justice. And no, he's just like, well, prosecute him for this, this, and this, right? Where he was subjected to an investigation where he was never charged, but had to pay tens of thousands of dollars in fees. If you think that wasn't bad, Andrew McCabe worked on the Mueller report. Trump pushed the IRS and the FBI to go after him for, again, numerous unrelated things. Charges were never brought for anything investigated, though he was fired because of also pressure from Trump and the public because he was investigated, and he had to spend over $1 million defending himself. Or how about when Trump pushed his DOJ to go after media reporters who were being unfavorable to him, leading to these media companies having to spend millions of dollars in a legal battle fighting to keep their records from the Department of Justice. Imagine if under Biden, the government was trying to fish records from media to go after journalists. Like the cries that would be had about the attack on free speech, yet Trump does it and it's just like, LOL, he's owning CNN. I mean, the list goes on, right? Like we all know, like the effect is still on Hillary Clinton. The right will still say she did all these things despite there never being any evidence found or charges being brought. Peter Strzok is another who had to spend tons of money, was never charged, had his reputation damaged. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right here. The only reason you'd want to prevent an investigation from Trump with his history of doing these exact kind of hit jobs is definitely because you're scared of being found guilty and not because of any of the other long list of effects that Trump has carried out on his other political rivals. And also, Trump doesn't weaponize the DOJ to go after his political rivals. That's what the Democrats do. Haha, because as long as Republicans point at Democrats and say they're doing it, they can get away with doing it themselves. Because with MAGA, and I stress this because I want you to never forget this, like anytime MAGA accuses the Democrats of doing something, I urge you to like research if MAGA themselves are or have done that thing, right? Because every accusation is a confession with MAGA. They have this last 4 years accused Joe Biden of weaponizing the DOJ against his political rivals because Donald Trump unprecedentedly used the DOJ against his political rivals, and they needed to cover that up.